and welcome back to the Way of Truth through Torah. And Grant, I should have gotten you to do that. I was going to look for Waylon, but he wasn't here. So welcome back, guys. We're going to be studying the ultimate prepper today. Who would that be?
Joseph.
What?
Yep.
Listen, guys, without Joseph, the tribe of Israel would probably have starved. In fact, the whole world. It says he fed the whole world.
Yeah, Yahuah used his whole story to prepare the land and then use him to feed everyone and keep everyone alive and sustained.
That is so true. He used his wisdom and his strength. I love this. This is one of my favorite Torah portions.
Mine too.
I say that about just about all of them. So guys, I also want you to think about something else. Who are you depending on? Because we're going to see, when we finished up last week's Torah portion, what did we see? We saw the cupbearer and the baker of Pharaoh had been put into the prison. What did Yoseph tell them after he interpreted their dreams? Don't forget me.
Yeah, don't forget me.
Don't forget about me. I'm here. I interpreted your dreams. Abba interpreted your dreams through me. Don't forget me when you go to the king. Mm-hmm. Well, he actually said that the cupbearer, the baker, went.
Yeah, Kaylin brought this up actually yesterday, and we had a good conversation about it, where he mentioned Joseph may have been in prison longer because he put his faith in that cupbearer and that baker instead of in Yahuah.
Kaylin, you
exactly
hit it.
Right.
And this is what I'm bringing up. It cost him 2 years, 2 extra years in prison because he didn't wait. What does Yah say? Be still and wait for me. Listen to the still small voice. So instead of doing that, he was like, hey, help me get out of here. So he did. He got to stay in there 2 years longer because he depended on the cupbearer. And the cupbearer did finally come through, but 2 years. What? They're so noisy. It's like a bull, like 2 bulls in a china closet. Okay. So guys, we're going to be in the book of Yasher. We're going to be in the book of Yubilees. We're going to hit Isaiah, and we're going to hit Luke. And this is a big Torah portion. And we're going to be adding to the list that we have up there. You should have brought glasses.
I should have brought reading glasses.
No.
Caffeine's affecting my eyes.
No, give me that cup of coffee.
Yeah. Well, it's the scriptures. I can see the Sefer okay. I struggle to see them.
Okay, well, so we may have problems with our
reader
man over here.
Today. We'll see.
Okay, let's get started. We are starting in Genesis 41. If you're in the Scriptures Bible, we are on page 44. And guys, part of our ministry is to give away the Institute for Scriptural Research Scriptures Bible. It doesn't look anything like this. I promise you.
It looks like this.
It looks like that.
This is a leather
Yours
version.
is really a nice one.
Yeah, they charge a little extra for this one, but you can get a nice blue one
Yours
for
won't
free
be that
from us, or you can get a blue one from them.
Yeah, we can get a we give away the blue, but
Send you one.
for free, no shipping, no handling, no tax. We just hand them out. So it's part of our ministry. If you want one, then when you're studying with us online, you can follow along because this is really, we use the Yasher, and
Really
we
good
do.
translation.
Yes, both of them are. And I'm starting to probably the next time I go through scriptures all the way, I'm probably going to go through the Yasher and just do it.
I love the clarity. The scriptures is beautifully written. It's very easy to understand. You know, it flows, and I like it. But I get caught up sometimes when I'm having to translate a name like Yahuah or Yahusha. And the Tetragrammaton, or the Hebrew, actually that's not the Tetragrammaton, but the Hebrew language, I haven't learned it yet. And so sometimes that gives me pause when I'm going through the scriptures. And
see, that's what gives me pause and Sefer. Isn't that funny?
The name is there.
It is, yeah. Well, and the names are different. Mm-hmm. So when I go through the Sefer, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's definitely a preference.
Yeah,
both
it
read
is.
very beautifully, and I love both versions.
They are both really good. Okay, so we're going to get started. Do I need you to do something?
No, we're good.
Only
We
two.
good?
We have only 2
You're
people in
good.
here good. The rest of everyone is just not doing so hot. So, okay, 41, verse 1. And it came to be at the end of 2 years' time. So here we see it. In fact, it tells us right off the bat. It took 2 years because he said, don't forget me. When you get out of jail, don't forget about me. Remind Pharaoh. Didn't work. It came to be at the end of 2 years' time that Pharaoh had a dream and saw him standing by the river and saw 7 cows coming up out of the river, beautiful looking and fat, and they fed amongst the reeds. And then 7 other cows coming up after them out of the river, and they were ugly and lean of flesh, and stood by the other cows on the other bank of the river. And the ugly and lean of flesh cows ate the 7 beautiful looking and fat cows. And then Pharaoh awoke. And he slept and dreamed a second time, and saw 7 heads of grains coming up one stalk, plump and good. And he saw 7 lean heads scorched by the east wind coming up after them. And the 7 lean heads swallowed the 7 plump and complete heads. And then Pharaoh awoke and saw it was a dream. And it came to be in the morning that his ruach, his spirit, was moved. And he sent and he called for all the magicians of Mitzrayim and all its wise men. And Pharaoh related to them his dreams, but there was no one who could interpret them for Pharaoh. And then the chief cupbearer spoke to Pharaoh, saying, I remember my crimes this day. He said, when Pharaoh was wroth with his servants and put me in confinement in the house of the captain of the guards, both me and the chief baker, each one of us dreamed a dream in one night. He and I, each of us, dreamed according to the interpretation of his own dream. And there was with us a Hebrew youth, a servant of the captain of the guard, and we related to him, and he interpreted our dreams for us. To each man he interpreted according to his own dream. And it came to be, as he interpreted for us, so it came to be. He restored me to my office, and he hanged him. And then Pharaoh sent and called Yoseph, and they hurriedly brought him out of the dungeon, and they shaved him, they changed his garments, and they brought him to Pharaoh. So he's been in the dungeon. Can you imagine being in there? He's had no baths, he's got a full beard, hair probably long, so they had to prepare him before he could even go before Pharaoh. And we're in verse 15. And Pharaoh said to Yoseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is no one to interpret it. And now I myself have heard it said of you that you understand a dream to interpret it. And Yoseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. Let Elohim answer Pharaoh with peace. He's learned quite a bit, hasn't he? It's not me. I don't interpret it. Only interpretation comes from Yah. Same thing that Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar. I can't interpret it, but I have a father. I have a creator, a Yahuah, a Elohim, that he can do it for you. And Pharaoh said to Yoseph, see, in my dream, I stood on the bank of the river, and I saw 7 cows coming up. And he basically repeats all of the dream to Yoseph. And we're not going to go back over all that because we've already discussed it.
Verse 25.
We're going to go to 25. Thank you. Very good. And Yoseph said to Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one dream. Elohim has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. So this is your verse, Tiffany. What does Yah do with his prophets before he does anything?
Well, he lets them know in Amos, as it says, that he reveals it to us.
He reveals. Amos is very good about telling us that. Amos 8:11. You want to read that? Because that's kind of like your verse. John 6:51. So Abba Yah doesn't do anything without first revealing it to his prophets. And so he just showed one of his prophets, Yoseph, what he's about to do. Are you there?
8:11?
Maybe not.
I think
I think you said John 6.
it's actually, I think it's 3:7.
Okay.
For the Master Yahweh does no matter unless he reveals his secret to his servants, the prophets.
Okay. What is
In John 6:51, I am the living bread which came down out of heaven. If anyone eats of this bread, he shall live forever. And indeed, the bread that I shall give is my flesh, which I shall give for the life of the world.
Yeah, those are really good verses. Y'all don't listen to any verses I'm recommending to. No kidding. Okay, so he's interpreting for Pharaoh. He said the 7 good cows are 7 good years, and the 7 good heads are 7 years, and it's one dream. And the 7 lean and ugly cows which come up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty heads scorched by the east wind are 7 years of scarcity of food. This is the word which I spoke to Pharaoh, and Elohim has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. See, 7 years of great plenty are coming to all the land of Mitzrayim, but after them 7 years of scarcity of food shall arise, and all the plenty from before shall be forgotten in the land of Mitzrayim, and the scarcity of food shall destroy the land, and the plenty shall not be remembered in the land, because of the scarcity of food following it, for it is very severe. So basically, guys, this is going to come on them. During good times, and I think we're all guilty of this, the more you make, it seems like the more you spend. And so you're spending everything you're going through, and then suddenly the oil field drops out. Oh, I didn't mean to get so specific. Suddenly they stop producing, right, Jack?
Oh my gosh.
They're like, oh, we're cutting back today because OPEC has cut down the rate, and or the price of gas is not big enough. No, I'm not talking about at the pump. So during the years of plenty, we should be storing up. Because I'm going to tell you something. We've got years of scarcity coming, and especially to y'all's people. Y'all hear what I'm saying?
So we got family.
So we do have family. Tell them what family's going to do. No, I'm kidding.
I'll tell you this family.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that a lot today.
So we're actually going to go into a prepper course this afternoon, just as a family, talking about things to do and not to do. And guys, don't depend on anyone else, because if something were to happen to someone that you think you're going to be dependent on,
Oh, no.
they may not be there. Okay?
Yep.
Faith is going to be tested.
Pardon?
That's when their faith is going to be tested.
Mm-hmm.
You know
I
what?
think our faith's being tested right now.
It is being tested right now. I believe
Amen.
that everyone is going through the fire. Abba Yahuah is allowing us to go into the fire. He's melting and burning off the dross that doesn't need to be there.
Doing some
He's
heart
pulling us
circumcision
out,
right now.
and he's beating all that dross off. And then he's sticking you back in the fire. And guys, I thank y'all that he's doing that to us today. Because by the time scarcity gets here, we're going to be ready, and we'll be able to weather it, and we'll be able to trust those that we know we can trust. And right now, the ones I know I can trust are right here with me.
Yep.
These are the ones I know I can trust. So we will know who to depend on, who to look out for, and it's really going to be interesting this evening, because I think it's going to be amazing to see what everyone's strengths are.
Yeah, I think
And-
you guys will be surprised at what comes out of what little you shared with me.
Oh, y'all shared very little with him. You don't trust him yet. I got it.
Well, I asked for very
Give them
little.
a little bit.
Yeah, you did.
I only wanted a little tiny
A
bit
little
of
bit, we're going to
information
have 12 people.
for a reason.
Yeah. Oh, and we've got to print that out too. Don't let me
at lunch,
forget. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. And the dream was repeated to Pharaoh twice, because the word was established by Elohim, and Elohim is hastening to do it. Repetition establishes a word. Anytime you see a repetition, how many times is it repeated throughout Scripture? Hear and obey my commandments. Guard and obey my commandments. That establishes it as a forever commandment. Here he's telling the dream twice. And now, let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man and set him over the land of Mitzrayim. And let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint overseers over the land, and take up 1/5 of the land of Mitzrayim in the 7 years of plenty. And isn't that interesting? What is the tithe?
So to get another
20%.
time.
It's 10%. So he's saying a fifth, which is 20%. So they're double putting back for the scarcity. And let them gather all the food of these good years that are coming, and store up grain under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And the food shall be for a store for the land of this, for the 7 years of scarcity of food, which shall be on the land of Mitzrayim, and do not let the land be cut off by scarcity of food. And the word was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and the eyes of his servants. And Pharaoh said to his servants, could we find another like him, a man in whom is the spirit of Elohim? And then Pharaoh said to Yoseph, since Elohim has shown you all this, there is no one as discerning and wise as you. Do you think it was really that simple? Do you think he really turned around and he said, wow, you just interpreted my dream, and Yah actually did it for you, and I'm going to turn over everything to
Probably
you.
just a little bit more to it.
There's a lot more to it, and it is beautiful, because listen, he is given charge over everything. the authority that really Pharaoh's firstborn son should have had. His firstborn son doesn't have it. Who has it? Yoseph. So in order to get that, you're fixing to hear some really cool things. Okay, Ashton,
48:62.
48:62 through 49:3.
Okay.
Where are we?
We're in Yasher,
we-
48.
Okay, so
62.
we're now going into Sapphire, and let's see. I've got to get over there as
I'll
well.
let everybody get
Yasher,
there.
what is it? I'm sorry?
48:62
62.
through 49:3.
So guys, what you're going to see today is we're going to be going back and forth between Canonized Scripture and Yasher. Yasher is filling in all the blanks where you're sitting here going, wow, they took a Hebrew man that they're not even, listen, the Mitzrayim couldn't eat with the Hebrew. Why?
Because they were shepherds.
They
And
were
they're-
stinky shepherds. You're not going to come to my dinner table. Listen, Yoseph wasn't even a shepherd at this point. And they're still like, you're not coming to my table. They still would not eat with the Hebrew. Okay.
48:62.
48:62.
What page?
Uh, 477.
Thank you.
Mine's 497. I'm anxious to see which page it's going to be on.
We'll see.
Mine's 481.
472.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it's because he's added lots of footnotes over the years. I really think that's what it is.
And see, I have no
Which shrinks the
footnotes.
margins.
Yeah.
Yeah, not here. All right, 48:62. And the king answered and said unto Yoseph, who says and who knows what your words are correct? That your words are correct. And he said unto the king, this shall be a sign for you respecting all my words, that they are true and that my advice is good for you. Behold, your woman sits this day upon the stool of delivery, and she will bear you a son, and you will rejoice with him. When your child shall have gone forth from his mother's womb, your firstborn son that has been born these 2 years back shall die, and you will be comforted in the child that will be born unto you this day. And Yoseph finished speaking these words to the king, and he bowed down to the king, and he went out. And when Yoseph had gone out from the king's presence, those signs which Yoseph had spoken unto the king came to pass on that day. And the queen bore a son on that day, and the king heard the good news about his son, and he rejoiced. And when the reporter had gone forth from the king's presence, the king's servants found the firstborn son of the king fallen dead upon the ground. And there was a great lamentation and noise in the king's house, and the king heard it. And he said, what is the noise and lamentation that I have heard in the house? And they told the king that his firstborn son had died. Then the king knew that all Joseph's words that he had spoken were correct, and the king was consoled for his son by the child that was born to him on the day as Yoseph had spoken. After these things the king sent and assembled all his officers and servants, and all the princes and nobles belonging to the king. And they all came before the king. And the king said unto them, behold, you have seen and heard all the words of this Ivri man, and all the signs which he declared would come to pass, and not any of his words have fallen to the ground. You know that he has given a proper interpretation of the dream, and it will surely come to pass. Now therefore take counsel, and know what you will do, and how the land will be delivered from the famine.
Okay. I want you to go now to 8 of 49. And actually, Ashton, go ahead and read all the way through 9.
8 and 9?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Please.
And the king said to all the officers, I have thought that since Elohim has made known to the Ivri man that he has spoken, there is none so discreet and wise in the whole land as he is. If it seems good in your sight, I will place him over the land, for he will save the land with his wisdom. And all the officers answered the king and said, but surely it is written in the laws of Mitzrayim, and it should not be violated, that no man shall reign over Mitzrayim, nor be the second to the king, but one who has knowledge in all the languages of the sons of men.
So this is a requirement in order for anyone to sit as a satrap or even to, listen, you couldn't even approach. The Pharaoh sat up on top of a pedestal. There were 70 steps leading up to it, and you could only go as far as the languages you could speak. So he was very protected, but it also kept dummies from going around him. Guess what? Most Americans couldn't have made it past the first step. Right? I mean, seriously, isn't that sad? Okay, so there are a set of rules. He has to know all the languages. And it's interesting that there are 70 languages that he has to know. I've got Genesis 44 and 8. Let me
There are
look at that.
70 elders.
Yeah, there's also so many nations at that time.
We're going to look that up, but wait till we get to it.
Sorry.
Go ahead and go to Yasher 49:13.
Okay. You want me to start that?
Yes.
Okay, so Jasher 49:13. And on that night, Yahuah had sent one. I need a drink. Give me a second.
There you go.
Let me start that over there. And on that night, Yahuah sent one of his ministering angels. And he came into the land of Mitzrayim unto Yoseph. And the angel of Yahuah stood over Yoseph. And behold, Yoseph was lying in the bed at night in his Adonai's house in the dungeon. For his Adonai had put him back into the dungeon on account of his woman. And the angel roused him from his sleep, and Yoseph rose up and stood upon his legs. And behold, the angel of Yahuah was standing opposite to him. And the angel of Yahuah spoke with Yoseph, and he taught him all the languages of man that night. And he called his name Yoseph. And the angel of Yahuah went from him, and Yoseph returned and lay upon his bed. And Yoseph was astonished at the vision which he saw.
Okay, so Dr. Pigeon actually puts a footnote here to go to 447 and Tehillim. That is actually Psalms. So we're going to read Psalms 1 just as part of this. Because what Yah did was he actually added his name to Yosef. So it's Yoseph. Yosef was Joseph's name, and it's Yosef. So I tried to find some meaning for that word. There is no meaning because Yah actually combined his name and Joseph's. So in Psalms,
Psalm 81:5, Pigeon has as a witness for this.
well, would you go ahead and read that because I did not see the connection there.
He appointed it in Yoseph. This is Psalms 81:5. He appointed it in Yoseph for a witness when he went throughout the land of Mitzrayim. I heard a language that I did not know. He appointed it in Yoseph. He's using that.
I looked up the wrong verse, I guarantee, because the one I looked up, I was like, didn't have anything to do with it. But
Gotta take that for a second.
that is definitely a second witness. Okay, in Psalms 1, blessed is the man who shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong. Guys, this is Joseph. Okay. And shall not stand in the path of sinners, and shall not sit in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the Torah of Yahuah. He meditates in his Torah day and night, for he shall be as a tree planted by the rivers of water, that yields its fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does prospers. The wrong are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind blows away. Therefore the wrong shall not rise in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For Yahweh knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wrong comes to naught. I was telling Ashton that yesterday I was listening to one of my favorite news preacher man. I like his news, I don't like his preaching. And you know what the song was that the guy was singing? I'm not a righteous man. And I was like,
Shocking.
it was shocking. It made me sick at my stomach, and I'm not going to say his name over the screen, but it blew me away. In fact, I was like, you know what? I just may never, because he got through with the song and he came off and he said, yeah, righteousness has nothing to do with it. We are saved by
Grace.
And
By
Tiffany, who did
grace.
Yahushua say we're supposed to be as righteous as?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
be set apart as I am set apart.
yeah.
Shaul repeats that. I'm following Yahusha. You follow me. What does that mean? You're going to be walking like Yahusha. So,
Walk like a Yahushua.
are you going
New
to do?
song for y'all.
Are you going to do the?
Pretty catchy.
Wait, I'll do the
I like
Egyptian
it.
sing part.
You take your place.
Okay, let's see.
We have a new singer. We're gonna recruit him.
I'll be home. You don't want to hear him sing.
No. No.
Okay, we're back into the Scriptures Bible. Let me move this over here. We are going to be back and forth, guys, okay? Be patient because you're going to be astounded. So he has learned all of the languages. Well, we may be going straight on into this.
I think so.
Yes, keep on going, Ashton. So we're I was joking. Get the big book back.
Oh,
Get Yasher back. We're starting in 16.
16.
I so rudely stopped Ashton in the middle of what he was reading.
49:16.
Yes, sir.
Yasher 49:16 for the live stream.
Yes, sir.
And it came to pass in the morning that the king sent for all his officers and servants, and they all came and sat before the king. And the king ordered Yosef to be brought, and the king's servants went and brought Yosef before Pharaoh. And the king came forth and ascended the steps of the throne, and Yosef spoke unto the king in all languages. And Yosef went up to him and spoke unto the king until he arrived before the king in the 70th step, and he sat before the king. And the king greatly rejoiced on account of Yosef, and all the king's officers rejoiced greatly with the king when they heard all the words of Yosef. So he's passed the test.
He has passed the test. I mean, that shows that he is wise enough. I want to stop for just a second. And Tiffany, you were pulling up some verses on 70.
I'm sorry, what?
You were pulling up some verses on 70, right?
70.
70? Were you pulling up verses? 70? Mm-hmm. No? Okay. I've got one that I want us to look at, and I found it pretty interesting. It's in Yasher chapter 9, verse 32. It says, and Elohim said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near him, saying, Come, let us descend and confuse their tongues. This is at the Tower of Babel. That one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor, and they did so unto them. So, 70 angels before him confuse their language. How many nations are there? 70.
Yeah, at this time.
and I think 70 it means.
So there were 70 different languages for the 70 different nations.
Yeah,
Keep going. Okay.
and it means ayin, which is see, experience, and to know.
To
Interesting.
see,
So the
experience, and
70
to know.
elders is like
Uh-huh.
experience.
The wisdom
and you
and
think about it,
knowledge
the
and
wisdom, growth.
Yes, and they were full of wisdom because
They had a
they were
different insight.
advising and
Right.
leading.
Yeah.
I like that. So it's ayin.
Yes.
Is how's it spelled?
AYIN.
AYIN. Okay, ayin. It's the ayin.
C.
It's the
It's the ayin,
See,
which is also to see.
Yes.
Yeah, to see. So that ayin is part of the Hebrew alphabet.
Yes.
For which everybody understood, except I was spelling it a yin, a yang. I don't know.
yin and yang.
A yin and a yang.
Hey,
Okay,
and there's
Yes,
somewhere in
sir.
Revelations that speaks to 70 as well.
it's all
Yes.
through Scripture.
Yeah.
It's all
70
through
times 7.
Scripture.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It definitely, the menorahs are 7, the churches are 7. There is something 70 in Revelations. I can't remember what it is.
70 weeks of Daniel.
Yeah.
Oh, there are 70 weeks. There you go. There's
Y'all like
y'all are
7.
looking it up, huh?
Y'all like 7s.
He does like sevens, and he likes multiplications of sevens.
He does.
Okay, keep going.
11, I'm in 16.
Uh huh.
49:16. And it,
I think you've already done that.
I think so too.
19.
Yeah, okay, that's why I was confused. And the thing seemed good in the sight of the king and the officers to appoint Yosef to be second to the king over the whole land of Mitzrayim. And the king spoke to Yosef, saying, Now you did give me counsel to appoint a wise man over the land of Mitzrayim, in order with wisdom to save the land from the famine. Now therefore, since Elohim has made all this known to you, and all the words which you have spoken, there is not throughout the land a discreet and wise man like unto you. And your name no more shall be called Yosef, but Sophanath Paneach shall be your name. You shall be second to me, and according to your word shall be all the affairs of my government. And at your word shall my people go out and come in. Also from under your hand shall my servants and officers receive their salary, which is given to them monthly, and to you shall all the people of the land bow down. Only in my throne will I be greater than you. And the king took off his ring from his hand and put it upon the hand of Yosef. And the king dressed Yosef in a princely garment, and he put a golden crown upon his head, and he put a golden chain upon his neck.
Okay. All authority, including the authority from his signet ring.
Didn't seem to leave anything else.
He didn't. He had full trust and faith in him. I'm going to tell you something. If I had been interpreting someone's dream, and as proof to that dream coming true, I had to tell them their son was about to die. You're going to have a new son born today, but your firstborn is going to die. And what's interesting is that that new child that was born that day when Yosef was giving him the dream, this is the son that rises up against him later on.
Well, I think you can
I
also
think, and it may be from a different wife. Sorry.
could be.
Yeah.
You can draw another parallel here too, because here we have Pharaoh, who is at that time over one of the greatest kingdoms that's ever existed.
Yes.
And so here he is trying to decide, how am I going to trust this guy if he says something to me that makes sense? And so he's going to have his own things that he's done. He's probably prayed to whoever his deities are. He's probably said, I need this to happen. I need that to happen. Give me a sign. We've all said, to Yahuah, can you just give me a sign of something that I need? And so Pharaoh's probably done all these things. And then his officers and his governors come up against him and they say, whoa, 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 there's rules. And so then he has to go back and say, again, if this is to be, maybe give me this sign. And then here comes this guy who passes all of his personal tests, who passes all of the tests of the rulers and the governors and whatnot in the kingdom.
He's uneducated.
I mean, he has no choice but to
This
say,
guy's
okay, this is
uneducated.
the guy.
Mhm.
Somebody sent him here.
That movie,
Yeah.
Joseph,
Mhm.
that you had us watch, it almost follows it. Almost.
Really?
It's
Who's
not like 100%,
It's a
but it's
1995 film.
Is it the Bible
Yeah.
story?
It shows.
it's just Joseph.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Bible collection.
Yeah.
It's actually
Bible
pretty good.
collection, and it's called Yoseph. For you live streamers that want to show it,
It's
I'm
like
gonna tell you
a 3-hour
something.
movie. It's
It's
good,
like
though.
3 hours, but it
It's
follows
good.
it.
It shows
like
Shechem,
this.
everything.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
It's on YouTube.
It's
Wow.
on
For free.
YouTube. That's where we watch it.
Okay, so guys, here's another similarity to Yahusha.
Mhm.
Yosef is second only to who? The top guy in Mitzrayim.
Mhm.
Who is Yahusha second to?
Y'all.
Yahweh. And in Hebrews 8, verse 1, I think this is what I didn't give that to you a while ago. Now, the summary of what we are saying is we have such a high priest who is seated at the right hand of the throne of the greatness of the heavens, and who serves in the set apart place in the true tent, which Yahweh set up, and not man. For every high priest is appointed to offer gifts and slaughters. Do what, says sir?
I was just saying what you said, Hebrews 8:1.
Oh, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I need a parrot. No, I'm kidding.
I have gotten some requests that we be more clear about what scriptures we're reading.
Oh,
So we
okay.
should do that.
Okay.
Apparently,
Very
I
good.
don't repeat the scriptures often enough, so
Okay.
I'm trying to do better today.
Okay, well, and thank you. And live streamers, you can post that on here, or you can tell us, in person. But tell us if we need to do something different. We're amateurs, but
Mhm.
our heart,
Especially me.
all of us are. I mean, none of us know how to operate YouTube. We got lost on it a while ago. We were like, oh no, we can't do our live stream today because we can't get back to where we're supposed to be. But guys, any recommendations you have? Our heart is to wake up the nation. It's to wake up y'all's children. That's where our heart is, and that is the only reason that we're here. Otherwise, we would be sitting here and studying together and going deeper than what we do here.
Mm-hmm.
So listen, if you got recommendations, let us know. Okay, so now we are back in Genesis, in the scriptures, in chapter 41, verse 41. That was easy, wasn't it? 41. And Pharaoh said, see, I have set you over all the land of Mitzrayim. And Pharaoh took his seal ring off his hand and put it on Joseph's hand. And he dressed him in garments of fine linen and put gold chains around his neck. And he had him ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried out before him, bow the knee. And he set him over the land of Mitzrayim. I want you to see what Yosef was crying, though. Look at 30, verse 1. Read 30, verse 1 out of Yasher. And y'all don't have to go to it. I just want you to hear what Joseph was saying.
49:30.
Yes, 49:30.
Yasher 49:30. And Yosef upon his horse lifted up his eyes to heaven and called out and said, he raises the poor man from the dust. He lifts up the needy from the dunghill. O Yahuah Sabaoth, happy is the man who trusts in you.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, it is.
So as Pharaoh is, listen, he doesn't have to go back to the dungeon. He came straight from the dungeon
To the nicest
To
place
the-
in the land except
Yes.
the sovereign.
to the Pharaoh's throne room.
You got to imagine that there's probably like a palace that comes with this.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
going to be, a household
like
guard, people are going to be making your meals. I mean, this guy literally
really
went
like
from almost hell to heaven.
Yes,
It's crazy.
that quick.
Yeah.
Because of who? Yah.
Yeah.
He's finally waiting on Yah.
He was continually blessed though throughout his whole
Why?
time in prison because Yah was with him. And
Why?
He was obedient.
Because of his obedience.
Mhm.
And guys, this is important. And we're going to see that in when we get into the, we're going to read a little bit about Asenath, which is Joseph's wife. And y'all got a copy of that, right?
I think so. Yeah.
It's a beautiful story. And,
Oh, yeah, we did.
it was written in 200 BC. The Greeks rewrote it in 100 BC, and they turned it more into a love story. But it is a beautiful view of who Asenath was, and how she was so protected, and who Yoseph was, and how he was so protected. Both were virgins.
Mhm.
He would not, well, we'll get to that later. We'll get to that when we get to that. But the whole story of Yoseph is just an incredible. And what's neat is that we were able to verify through three different books here.
It's almost like he walked on water before Yahuah did. That's kind of how he's described.
Yeah, and here he was so perfect. Okay, and he had him ride in the second chariot which he had, and they cried out for him, bow the knee, and he set him over the land of Mitzrayim. And Pharaoh said to Yoseph, I'm Pharaoh, and without a word from you, let no man lift his hand or foot in all the land of Mitzrayim. He's going to be literally like the savior of the world. And that's what you were saying. It's like he's walking on water. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath Paneah, which is, it really means a glorious treasury of riches, is what his name means. And he gave him as his wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. Tiffany, did you get my text this morning?
About the eunuch, yes.
Uh-huh. Okay. And and Yosef went out over the land of Mitzrayim. Okay, we're going to stop for just a second because, I mean, it just glosses over. This is scriptures. It goes through it very quickly,
Mm-hmm.
but there's more to the story, okay? So Asenath is actually the daughter, from what we're reading here, of a priest of On. So, Tiffany, I'm not going to turn the camera around.
Well, she was from, I guess, right, like, she was Dinah's daughter.
We're going to get to that. It's in the Targum.
okay.
But tell us, okay, so the priest of On,
Yeah, so he was actually a eunuch. And so basically what a eunuch is somebody who is consecrated to Yahuah. And it's someone that, okay, so there's actually some controversy here because of the fact that, how should I say this?
sorry.
They could be castrated males. Okay, without saying, yeah. I'm like, how do I say that? But according to basically popular interpretation, they don't necessarily have to be. It's just because it's sometimes translated that way. But in Hebrew, it's actually called saris, S-A-R-I-S, which is used just to denote a person that's underneath a king that has 100% service to a king. And so basically, if you go to Matthew 19:12, this is Yahuah speaking. If I can get to it.
It's 9:41 in the scriptures.
Thank you. 19:12.
Matthew 19:12, for those of you who didn't hear it, it's page 941 in the scriptures.
Okay, so Yahuah says in 11, and he said to them, not all receive this word, but only those to whom it has been given. For there are eunuchs who were so born from their mother's womb. So that's the first description, is being born naturally that way. Okay. And then there are eunuchs who were made eunuchs by men. That's the second way. Okay. And then there are eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the sake of the reign of the Shamayim. And that's the third way. Basically, if you're called to be set apart and you're called to set your life that way. It doesn't mean that you can't take a wife. It doesn't mean that. It just that means that you don't have relations with that wife.
Oh,
Well, and what's interesting is it literally in Leviticus, and we'll be getting into Leviticus soon, But in Leviticus it says that if a male has any type of, if he's been castrated,
Yeah, I think it's in Leviticus 21 and 22.
yeah, they can't come into the temple. Yet, Yah in Isaiah says, even the eunuch who guards and keeps my commands, he's going to be like a pillar in my temple. So Yahweh, listen, doesn't matter about our body, it matters about our heart. That's what's important. Yes,
I
sir.
have just a clarification. So a eunuch, they're castrated no matter what? I'm just curious.
Well, they're castrated either naturally born. I had a year like that one
They're
time.
physically
He
done that way, but
thought he was a female. Yeah, he was
Okay.
just born that way. Or they had it done as a servant to the
Okay.
king. And some did it in order to draw near to the Shamayim or to the heaven or to the glory. But that almost goes against scripture. So I mean, it's here in writing. But it almost goes against scripture because scripture says don't do that.
Yeah, and actually it says in Deuteronomy too that you're not supposed to cut off your privy parts because then you're not allowed to even approach.
Yeah.
And so, but you know, he heals all and he knows.
Yeah.
But it also says, which I found very interesting because I just learned this morning, that Haggai and Esther was also the king's eunuch. And so they're kind of known to also not just kind of work for underneath the king, but to also be a servant to the women and the concubines. So,
Haggai? Oh,
Haggai.
Esther's uncle.
yes.
Okay.
And so that's why he took his niece on too, and he's like, well, I'll take care of you. And then when the Queen Vashti or whatever was like, no, I'm not going to come to you, I'm not going to be of service to you. He was like, I have somebody who will, and we'll have a beauty pageant and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And he promoted because he was taking care of the women anyway. He was making sure that Vashti, and when Vashti refused, he put together knowing that his niece would probably be the called out one.
In the ancient world, that was common because if you couldn't have children, you couldn't challenge the king's dynasty.
That is probably the main point right there, that the king would have you in the king's throne room or in his palace. That's probably the main reason he would do it, Kaylin.
Was and too, he could trust you because if you weren't going to
You
threaten
can't
his
do
kingdom.
anything. Yeah.
Well, and hey, your queens are, and all your
Exactly.
wives are going to be safe from them. So that's a good point. Very good point.
that's
So there are lots of reasons for there to be eunuchs. And so where we're going with this is that On, the prince of On, petty Pharaoh, he was a eunuch. And so I just want to read, there is a book, it's put out by Yoseph. It's called Yoseph the Asenath. It's very tiny. But it is really just a really quick story put out by Dr. Pigeon. I want to read a few quips from this, and then I want to show you, and really, Tiffany already said, but I want to show you who Asenath was and how Yosef was able to marry her. Okay, I'm just going to give you verses out of this. No one has this book but me and you.
Yeah, we've got it. Kaylin's read it.
And in verse 4 of 1, it says, Now Asenath herself bore no likeness to the virgins of the daughters of Mitzrayim. She didn't look like them, but was in all things like the daughters of the Ephraim, being tall as Sarah, comely as Rivkah, and beautiful as Rachel. And the fame of her beauty spread abroad into all that land and to the ends of the world, so that by reason of this all the sons of the princesses and satraps desired to woo her. Even Pharaoh's firstborn son wanted her. And Pharaoh had actually said, okay, she can be yours.
Sounds like a pre-Cleopatra.
Yeah. But she didn't like men. Okay? So, chapter 2, verse 1. But Asenath sought it not and scorned every man, being boastful and haughty, and never had a man seen her. She had never even been seen by a man. So only her beauty was, I guess, spread about by the virgins that worked with her, or that took care of her. Caitlin's back there smiling because he's read this. Okay, in chapter 6, verse 5, she was haughty even to Yosef. Even when Yosef met her, she was adorned in all of this princess garb, okay, like Princess Diana, just decked out and shiny everywhere. And Yosef looked at her, and he was very, he noticed that she was very beautiful. But after she saw him, she was like smitten to the core. She basically said, because she'd already told her father, I will not marry him. I'm going to marry Pharaoh's son. I'm not going to marry Yosef, a Hebrew. You would actually want me. Let's talk about a spoiled brat. She was. But here she says in chapter 6, verse 8, she says, wretched am I and foolish, because I have spoken evil words to my father, and now therefore let my father give me to Yosef for a handmaid and a bondwoman, and I will be in bondage to him forever. She was like, I don't even have to be married to him. I will wash his feet, wash his clothes, cook his meals, and take care of his house. Because she was like, he's so beautiful. Okay, so here we go in chapter 7. I'm trying to give you a quick rundown through this as quick as we can so we don't get bogged down. Okay, so Yosef saw her peeking around the corner at him. And he said, who's that? And they said, oh, that's her daughter. And he said, I will not sin in the sight of Yahuah Elohim and in the face of my father Yasher. For Yosef had Yahuah always before his eyes and ever remembered the injunctions of his father. For Yaakov often spoke and admonished his son Yosef and all his sons. He said, keep yourselves, children, securely from a strange woman, so as not to have fellowship with her, for fellowship with her is ruin and destruction. Therefore Yosef said, let that woman depart from this house. So he saw her, he saw she was pretty, and he said, I'm not going to sin over this very beautiful, shiny woman. He said, let her depart from this house. And then Potiphar said, oh, she's our daughter, but treat her like a sister because she hates men. I mean, this is basically what he's telling her. He said, if you wish, master, she will come and speak to you, for that is our daughter as your sister, who hates every man. She hated every man. So no man has seen her now except for her adopted father and Yosef. In chapter 8, Asenath said to Yosef, hail, master, blessed of Yahuah Elohim. And Yosef said to her, Elohim who quickens all things shall bless you, girl. Potiphar said then to his daughter, Asenath, come and kiss your brother. And when Asenath then came up to kiss Yosef, Yosef stretched forth his hand and laid it on her. It's her chest, not her breast. On her breast between her two paps. For her paps were already standing forth. Okay. 6. And Yosef said, it is not proper for a man who worships Yah, who blesses with his mouth the living Yahuah, and eats the blessed bread of life, and drinks the blessed cup of immortality, and is anointed with the blessed unction of incorruption, to kiss a strange woman. He wouldn't even kiss her. He wouldn't even let her kiss his hand. He said to kiss a strange woman who blesses with her mouth dead and deaf idols, and eats from their table the bread of strangling, and drinks from their libation the cup of deceit.
He knows how to win them, doesn't he?
Huh?
He knows how to win them.
He's like, no, you are putrid in my sight. Is anointed with the unction of destruction. But the man who worships Elohim will kiss his mother, and the sister who is born of his mother, and the sister who is born of his tribe, and the woman who shares his couch, who bless with their mouth the living Yahuah. Yes, you can borrow this.
I know, I'm like,
You can borrow this. 'Cause I'm looking at Tiffany's face. She's like, I want that.
I don't want to covet, but
No.
I
No.
definitely want to read.
You would totally enjoy this. Okay. So after Yosef tells her this, and he is high up. He's second only to Pharaoh. She is so convicted that she goes in and she basically doesn't eat. She doesn't drink. She rips off all of her garments, her expensive garments. She takes them all off. She puts on a black mourning dress, puts ashes on her head. She's rolling around in cinder. So she's so broken by his words. He basically said, "You're pagan." That's what he told her. "You're a pagan to me. I can only kiss someone who worships Yahuah and is clean and pure." He called her filthy. That's what he called her. You're worshiping dead things. So she threw all of her idols out the window. She threw her princess garments out the window. She threw her food out the window. She didn't eat, she didn't drink. So she basically fasted for 7 days. Okay. Now, yes, sir.
Who was the eunuch? Potiphar?
Potiphar was he was the chief high priest
So-
in their.
Asenath was his stepdaughter.
Asenath was his adopted daughter.
Because he-
And we don't see this
can't
in
have
this
any
story
children.
because I don't think Asenath knows that.
I was just
So,
making sure.
so in this story, as it's written, she was raised by he and his wife.
Okay.
Okay. In chapter 15, in verse 6, are y'all able to follow what I'm reading?
Where
Okay.
you at?
Chapter,
Oh, no.
She has it on
Okay.
the app Sephora, right?
yeah. Okay. Be of good cheer, Asenath, the virgin. Okay, so an angel of Yah has come down and is speaking to her. Be of good cheer, Asenath, the virgin and pure lo, Yahweh Elohim. Have I messed up something? What?
Mhm.
No.
They're
There was a question as to whether it was in
I'm not
the.
shopping.
We got shopping going on. Hey, this is Shabbat.
She's just
Okay.
looking to see where this comes from.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is it still available? Is it still available at
It
the
is.
secret?
It has like a whole bunch of
You have to buy other things with it, right?
No, you don't. You can buy them separate, but it has like his library collection, and it has a lot.
That's the only reason we have it. We bought the
The
library
whole
collection.
collection.
Oh, so y'all did have it. Okay. Okay.
So,
So you
just so
can't
you
buy it
know,
individually.
I'm actually researching for everybody.
I like
and
that.
listening.
And you look so
Do I
smart
look
in your
like I'm
glasses.
multi- am I
Yes, you're
multifaceted?
very good. I like that.
Appreciate you.
So the angel has come to her. The angel of Yahweh has come to her. He said, "Be of good cheer, Asenath." He's trying to cheer her up. "The virgin and pure lo, Yahweh Elohim, has given you today to Yoseph for a bride, and he himself shall be your bridegroom forever. And no more henceforth shall you be called Asenath, but your name shall be called City of Refuge. For that in you many nations shall seek refuge, and you shall lodge, and they shall lodge under your wings. And many nations shall find shelter by your means. And upon your walls, they who cleave to Elohim, Elohim El Elyon, through penitence shall be kept secure." This goes pretty much along with the blessing given to Yoseph. You're like a vine that runs over the wall, like just runs wild. He says, those upon your walls who will cleave to Elohim El Elyon. For that penitence is the daughter of Elyon, and she herself entreats Elohim, I'm butchering this, Elohim El Elyon for you every hour and for all who repent, since he is father of penitence. And she herself is the completion and overseer of all virgins, loving you exceedingly and beseeching El Elyon for you every hour. And for all who repent, she will provide a place of rest in the heavens. And then in verse 10, he says, "And lo, for my part, I'm going to Yoseph, and I'm going to make this statement to him as well." So he's going to appear to Yoseph, and she knows this. Okay, chapter 9, verse 4. "And Asenath came out." So Yoseph is coming back to Potiphar's palace. It's the 8th day, and it sounds like he has gone and celebrated Pesach, the week of unleavened bread. "And Asenath came out on the porch to meet Yoseph. And when he saw her, he marveled at her. And he said, 'Who are you, girl?' He said, 'Quickly, tell me.' And she said to him, 'I, master, am your handmaid. Asenath, all the idols I have cast away from me, and they perished. And a man came to me today from heaven and has given me bread of life, and I ate. And I drank a blessed cup, and he said to me, I have given you for a bride to Yoseph. And he himself shall be your bridegroom forever. And your name shall not be called Asenath, but it shall be called City of Refuge. And Yahweh Elohim shall reign over many nations, and through you shall they seek refuge with Elohim El Shaddai. And the man said, I will go to Yoseph, that I may speak into his ears these words concerning you. And now you know, master, that if that man has come to you, and if he has spoken to you concerning me. And then Yoseph said to Asenath, Blessed are you, woman of Elohim El Shaddai, and blessed is your name forever. For that Yahuah Elohim has laid the foundations of your walls, and the sons of the living Yah shall dwell in your city of refuge. And Yahuah Elohim shall reign over them forever. For that man came from heaven to me today and said these words to me concerning you. And now come here to me, you virgin, you virgin and pure, and why do you stand far off? So he kissed Asenath, and he gave her the Ruach Hayayim, and then the second time he kissed her, he gave her the Ruach Hakmah, and the third time he kissed her tenderly and gave her the Ruach Imeh. And so they were then wedded. And if you go to the Targum, which I have got the Palestinian Targum, in the Targum, in this Torah portion, on page 96, for you who have the Targum, it basically says, and he gave him Asenath, whom Dinah had borne to Shechem, and the wife of Potipharah, Prince Rabbah of Tanis, brought up to be his wife. And Yoseph went forth ruler over the land of Mitzrayim. And Yoseph was a son of 30 years when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Mitzrayim. So there it was. Did you find that she was the daughter of Dinah anywhere besides the Targum?
That's the only place.
That's the only place I found it as well. So we don't really have a second witness, but I'm going to tell you what the witness is. The witness is the fact that Yahuah allowed Joseph to marry her, because he could not marry outside the tribe. Could not have. That was the law. So he married within the tribe. He married his cousin.
Married within the own tribe.
He married within his own tribe. Okay, so nice sidestep just to see the fullness of the picture of who Asenath was. So guys, the sons that they're having, these are mighty sons, because their bloodline is almost straight. Well, it is straight from. No, it's not, because it's got Shem. It's got Shechem in there.
No, Shechemites.
Oi, but other than Shechem, which maybe y'all got rid of, it's got Yaakov's bloodline and Rivka's. Okay, are we ready to go forward?
Which
Okay,
page?
we are
46, right?
we are in 46 of chapter 41, and that was going to be on 45, and we're back in the scriptures in Genesis. 46. Now Yoseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and Yoseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land. And in the 7 years of plenty, the ground brought forth generously. And I'm going to move this over, and you make sure that you're getting everything that we need to read in there. Okay. And Yoseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout the land of Mitzrayim. And in the 7 years of plenty, the ground brought forth generously. And he gathered all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Mitzrayim, and laid up the food in the cities. He laid up in every city the food of the fields which surrounded them. Thus Joseph gathered very much grain, as the sand of the sea. And he ceased counting, and it was without number. He gathered so much they couldn't even count it anymore. And we're in verse 50. And to Yoseph were born 2 sons before the years of scarcity of food came. So he is 34 when Asenath gives him 2 sons. The daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bore to him. And Yoseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for Elohim has made me forget all my toil in all my father's house. So that's what the name means. He made me to forget, Manasseh. And the name of the second he called Ephraim, for Elohim has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. And the 7 years of plenty which were in the land of Mitzrayim came to an end. And the 7 years of scarcity of food began to come. And as Yoseph had said, and the scarcity of food was in all the lands. In all the land of Mitzrayim, there was bread. But when all the land of Mitzrayim hungered and the people cried to Pharaoh for bread, Pharaoh said to all of Mitzrites, go to Yoseph, do whatever he says. And the scarcity of food was all over the face of the earth. So this was worldwide. You know, what has been will be again.
So we're fixing to go then.
It's what we're heading towards. Well, and think of this, guys. We've had crop failures all over the country. They had rice failures, even in India. So there's a shortage of goods everywhere. We've got problems in the Panama Canal because they built a new canal and the lake doesn't supply enough water. So the big ships can't get through. So we've got a blockage down there. And we have got a blockage in the Suez Canal.
And you're a cattle woman, and so you know that the national head supply is down into the level it was in the 60s, and yet you're still getting nothing for your beef.
Well,
Well, when
and
they started, when they built trains and stuff for all the Amish, because, you know, people would go back to the Amish.
It's ridiculous.
well, I understand that part, and this is hearsay, and I cannot prove it to be fact, but I understand that the plan of our
Wonderful people who run
yes,
things.
our leaders, they are going to flood the market with South American and Mexican meats. They're
In Chinese meats.
They're doing it.
they're already doing it. They're going to run the farmers out of business. Once the farmers are out of business, they're going to close the borders to any meat coming in. Meat is going to be scarce
way.
and it's going to be very expensive. So we've got a scarcity of wheat because of the flooding and the weather. We've got a scarcity of
And the
rice.
war in Ukraine.
And the war in Ukraine,
It's one of the
absolutely.
largest places that grain was produced in the world.
I think it was the third largest. But so it was right up there. So guys, everything that's going on worldwide, Abba Yah is creating the time of famine, plague. What are they talking about now? Oh wait, I hear the ding-a-ling-a-ling of mask. I'm seeing. I was in Palestine yesterday.
Yeah,
Everybody
they're
was
coming
wearing masks.
Huntsville, same.
Oi,
Really?
Yes, it was terrible.
what part of these are no good? These don't do any good for you. These are not going to protect you against the bugs.
And the
What part
wicked
of
shall
that?
not understand.
Oh, you're right.
Amen.
Mm.
But if you fear, you don't believe. If you don't fear, then
See,
I never wore a mask.
I have a
just was
t-shirt.
Like, they don't work.
I have a T-shirt
Yeah,
at home
I
that
see
says
that.
"Fear is the real virus," and I wore it during that period.
I had a
It's the
sign
truth.
on my door that said, "If you have been vaccinated, put a mask on before you enter this
Yeah.
place."
My mom and dad's doctor, during the
We were giving away
whole
toilet paper.
thing, he told them, he was like, you're
We
not gonna wear a
did.
mask in here.
That's awesome.
Like, he is so.
I
I'm
like
surprised he didn't
him. I would like his name. I would
He's
like his
amazing.
name
Were we doing
because
inspections for toilet paper? Or we give,
yeah. We were giving away toilet paper during that time. We were like,
Yeah.
"Come by, we'll give you toilet paper," and we did. Lots of it. We brought in grandkids to hand out toilet paper. Okay.
That's awesome.
And the scarcity of food was all over the face of the earth. And Yoseph opened all the storehouses and sold to the Mitzrites. And the scarcity of food was severe in the land of Mitzrayim. And all of the earth came to Yoseph in Mitzrayim to buy grain because of the scarcity of food was severe on all the earth.
Keyword sold.
Yes.
Sold.
Yep.
So in Yasher 50:32,
There you
no,
go.
we're not there yet. Not quite. Not
Okay.
quite there yet.
I'll keep reading.
Yeah.
We're in Genesis 42, verse 1.
Yeah. You keep going.
And when Yaakov saw that there was grain in Mitzrayim, Yaakov said to his sons, "Why do you look at each other?" Can't you see? He had to be a character. He's like, "Why aren't y'all just staring at each other?
Do something.
Go to Mitzrayim and get us some food." Oh my goodness, you're staring at each other like you're a piece of steak.
I'm
Yeah.
eat them.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you look good.
What are you?
You look like a hamburger. You look like a ribeye.
A little bit of long pig.
Yeah. You look kosher.
We're just talking about what could be, but
Uh-huh.
it wouldn't be. Hmm.
Grain. They were
Okay.
getting grain. Yeah. In
Yeah.
42 too. They were looking for grain.
Yeah, they're looking for grain. And he said, "See, I have heard that there is grain in Mitzrayim. Go down to that place and buy for us there and let us live and not die." They were that hungry. There was so little food that they were that hungry. And Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain in Mitzrayim. I think this is interesting. It's like the house of Yasher. But Yaakov did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with him, with his brothers, for he said, lest some harm come to him. And the sons of Yasher went to buy grain among those who journeyed, for the scarcity of food was in the land of Canaan. And Yoseph was a governor over, I think
This is where I should
yeah,
pick up.
you
Yeah.
need to pick up right now.
So in Yasher 50:32,
Okay.
and Yosef knew that his brethren would come to Mitzrayim to buy grain, for the famine prevailed throughout the earth. And Yosef commanded all his people that they should cause it to be proclaimed throughout the land of Mitzrayim, saying, it is the pleasure of the king, of his second, and of their great men, that any person who wishes to buy grain in Mitzrayim shall not send his servants to Mitzrayim to purchase, but his sons, and also any Mitzrai or Canaanite, who shall come from any of the stores from buying grain in Mitzrayim, and shall go and sell it throughout the land, he shall die, for no one shall buy but for the support of his household. And any man leading 2 or 3 beasts shall die, for a man shall only lead his own beast. And Yosef placed sentinels at the gates of Mitzrayim, and commanded them, saying, any person who may come to buy grain, suffer him not to enter until his name and the name of his father and the name of his father's father be written down. And whatsoever is written by day, send their names unto me in the evening, that I may know their names. He's looking for his family.
Yes, he is.
Literally.
He knows they're coming. He knows that they are coming. Okay, go ahead, and we're going to go ahead and go to 51
Okay.
and go, and we're still in at
Look at
Sefer.
Yasher, so 51:5.
Yes, sir.
And the sons of Yaakov went forth, and they went to Mitzrayim. And the sons of Yaakov did all as their father had commanded them. And Yaakov did not send Benjamin, for he said, lest an accident might befall him on the road like his brother. And the 10 of Yaakov's sons went forth. And while the sons of Yaakov were going on the road, they repented of what they had done to Yoseph. And they spoke to each other, saying, we know that our brother Yoseph went down to Mitzrayim, and now we will seek him where we go. And if we find him, we will take him from his Adonai for a ransom, and if not by force, and we will die for him. And the sons of Yaakov agreed to this thing, and strengthened themselves on account of Yoseph, to deliver him from the hand of his Adonai. And the sons of Yaakov went to Mitzrayim. And when they came near to Mitzrayim, they separated from each other, and they came through 10 gates of Mitzrayim. And the gatekeepers wrote their names on that day, and brought them to Yoseph in the evening. And Yoseph read the names. How far am I going here? 13. And Yoseph read the names from the hand of the gatekeepers of the city, and he found that his brethren had entered at the 10 gates of the city. And Yoseph at that time commanded that it should be proclaimed throughout the land of Mitzrayim, saying, go forth, all ye store guards, close all the grain stores, and let only one remain open, that those who come may purchase from it. And all the officers of Yoseph did so at that time, and they closed all the stores and left only one open. And this is so Yosef can be at the one where his brothers have to go to.
That's right.
Yep.
That is, Joseph was very cunning on this. What is he doing?
He's setting it up so he can force a meeting between him and his brothers.
Okay, why?
They have business.
What is he worried about? His father.
He's worried
for
about
one
his
thing.
father. And I think he's
And-
worried about them as
Benjamin.
well.
And Benjamin.
And Benjamin, yeah.
So he's worried about Benjamin, and it's ultimately going to come down to kind of a battle over Benjamin. Okay.
Well, this is a man who knows that vengeance is the father's.
That's it.
And he's not looking for revenge. From the beginning, he's not looking for revenge.
Everything that Joseph's doing, he's doing it out of love.
Yeah.
And he's doing it, I mean, he even feels so sorry for them at one point
Mhm.
that he goes off to the side and weeps for them.
He does test their character.
He
We'll get
is.
to that. But, he definitely is lovingly looking for them, I think, in hopes there can be a reunification.
Yes. Yah's using him.
Mhm.
He's using him to test them and to bring them to conviction,
Well,
which it
Yosef
sounds
has
like
to
they already
find a
were.
handful of lost sheep in Israel.
That's right.
Sounds familiar.
He's hunting for the lost sheep. You're right. Yahushua comes back for the lost sheep as well.
Sure does.
There you go.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, and Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain in Mitzrayim, but Yaakov did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers. I'm sorry. I am Genesis 42, verse 4. 5 now. And the sons of Yasher went to, I already read all that. Why didn't y'all stop me?
That's why I said- that's why I said
6. And Yoseph was the governor over the land, and he was the one who sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came, listen to this, and they bowed down before him with their faces to the earth. Genesis 37, Tiff. What did Joseph dream that all of his brothers were like,
Bow down. That was the first dream. The second dream.
They called him arrogant. So what does Genesis 37:7 say?
Even his father said something.
Yeah, but his father knew.
Yeah.
He knew in his heart. He was like, "You think your mother and I are going to bow down?" But he stowed it away because he was like,
That's a big family he had to go make a show for.
"Yeah, that's right."
See, we were binding sheaves in the midst of the field, and see, my sheaf rose up against and also stood up. And see, your sheaf stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf.
What's happened? And they hated him for that dream.
Oh, yeah.
And when he had the next dream, they hated him even more. So all of Joseph's brothers came, and what did they do? They bowed down before him with their faces to the earth. Have you already read 32?
Nope. We're gonna get to 24-27 next.
Okay. I'm going to read these next two verses, and then I'm going to hand it back over to you. And Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he acted as a stranger to them and spoke to them harshly. And he said to them, "Where do you come from?" And they said, "From the land of Canaan to buy food." So Joseph recognized his brothers, but they didn't recognize him. And this is so much like Yahuah. Yahuah came to his own brothers. Did they recognize him? No, they didn't. Would you? Okay, thank you. And Yosef remembered the dreams which he had dreamed about them and said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they said to him, "No, my master, but your servants have come to buy food. We are all one man's sons, and we are trustworthy, and your servants are not spies." But he said to them, "No, you have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they said, "Your servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And see, the youngest is with our father today, and one is no more." And Yosef said to them, "It is as I spoke to you, saying, you are spies."
And in Yasher 51:24, and Yosef again answered them and said, "That is the thing which I spoke unto you. You have come to spy through the land. Therefore you all came through 10 gates of the city." You can see that made him look suspicious.
It made him look real suspicious.
"You have come to see the nakedness of the land. Surely everyone that comes to buy grain goes his way, and you are already 3 days in the land. And what do you do in the walls of harlots in which you have been for these 3 days? Surely spies do like unto these things." What are they going to say to that? Because he's got them dead to rights. Why have they been there for 3 days and not bought grain? And I think...
So start back at 36.
Yeah, 36. Okay, so still 51 in Yasher? 36? Yes. "And on the third day, Yosef had them brought out of the ward, and he said unto them, Do this for yourselves if you be true men, so that you may live. One of your brethren shall be confined..." Am I getting ahead? "One of your brethren shall be confined in the ward while you go and take home the grain for your household to the land of Canaan, and fetch your youngest brother and bring him here unto me, that I may know that you are true men when you do this thing." And Yosef went out from them and came into the chamber and wept a great weeping, for his pity was excited for them, and he washed his face and returned to them again. And he took Shimon from them and ordered him to be bound, but Shimon was not willing to be done so, for he was a very powerful man, and they could not bind him. And Yosef called unto his mighty men, and 70 valiant men came before him with drawn swords in their hands. And the sons of Yaakov were terrified at them. It's got quite a group at his disposal here.
Yes, he does.
And Yosef said unto them, "Seize this man and confine him in prison until his brethren come to him." And Yosef's valiant men hastened, and they all laid hold of Shimon to bind him. And Shimon gave a loud and terrible shriek, and the cry was heard at a distance. And all the valiant men of Yosef were terrified at the sound of the shriek, that they fell upon their faces, and they were greatly afraid and fled. And all the men that were with Yosef fled, for they were greatly afraid for their lives. And only Yosef and Manasseh his son remained there. And Manasseh the son of Yosef saw the strength of Shimon, and he was exceedingly wroth. And Manasseh the son of Yosef rose up to Shimon, and Manasseh smote Shimon a heavy blow with his fist against the back of his neck, And Shimon was stilled of his rage. And Manasseh laid hold of Shimon, and he seized him violently, and he bound him and brought him into the house of confinement. And all the sons of Yaakov were astonished at the act of the youth. And Shimon said unto his brethren,
Listen
none
to
of,
what he's going to say.
none of you must say that this is the smiting of a Mitzri, but it is the smiting of the house of my father. And after this, Yoseph ordered him to be called who was set over the storehouse, to fill their sacks with grain, as much as they could carry, and to restore every man's money into his sack, and to give them provision for the road, and thus he did unto them.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something. Why did you choose Simone?
He was the younger, wasn't it?
Wasn't he the one that wanted to kill him? Or was it the one that he had murdered?
Yehudah was the one that wanted to kill him, but why did he? Who wiped out Shechem?
Shimon and Levi.
Combined, they're deadly.
Yes.
Okay,
They're a
so
problem.
what do we want to do? we want
Take out the strong
we
ones.
want to split these strong men apart because separated they may not be quite as strong. But what's amazing is Manasseh is not very old right now, and he was as strong. And you even see if in the book of Asenath, it talks about when Asenath finally got to meet Yaakov, she was like, his legs were like muscular and his face was young and he was handsome. And she was like, I can't believe he's the age he is, but his hair was solid white. So these men were very strong. They had good genes.
On both sides, and it's interesting that both the warrior and who eventually became the priesthood are two strong men, because it shows that both men of faith and men of physicality need to be strong.
Yes. Well, and all of Yaakov's sons were strong. These were real men. I mean, no one could call. And listen, I'm going to tell you something. You guys who are in here and you're wearing your tzitzits, you're real men. Y'all are real men because, listen, it doesn't take, everyone else is following the same path. Not you guys. You're set apart. And I know that you get asked, hey, what's that thing that's hanging on your belt? And what are you, a Jew?
Nope. I'm a follower of the way of Yahushua HaMashiach.
That takes strength, guys. So just as the sons of Yaakov were very strong, you guys are very strong. And I really admire y'all for what you're doing, because you're making a statement by wearing your tzitzits. What? You need help?
No, ma'am.
Okay. 16. Am I covering up everything? Okay.
Just 16,
I'm
42.
back in 16 of Genesis.
Yeah.
I'm in 42 of Genesis, verse 16. Thank you, Corey. You got me right. Okay. Send one of you and let him bring your brother while you're kept in prison. So let your words be proven to see whether there is any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh you are spies. And he put them together in prison for 3 days. And now Yoseph said to them on the third day, do this and live, for I fear Elohim. If you are trustworthy, let one of your brothers be confined to your prison house. And you go, bring grain for the scarcity of the food of your houses, and bring your youngest brother to me, and let your words be confirmed, and you do not die. And so they did. And they said to one another, truly, we're guilty concerning our brother, for we saw the distress of his life when he pleaded with us, yet we did not listen. And this is why the distress has come upon us. And Reuben answered them, saying, did I not speak to you, saying, do not sin against the boy? And you would not listen, and see, his blood is now required of us. And they did not know that Joseph understood them, for he spoke to them through an interpreter. And he turned himself away from them, and he wept, but came back to them and spoke to them. And he took Shimon from them and bound him before their eyes. But as you can tell, it wasn't that simple. I mean, there was a battle that ensued before they caught Shimon. And Yoseph commanded they filled their sacks with grain, and also put back every man's silver to his sack, and to give them food for the journey. And thus it was done for them. And now we're going back into Yasher.
Are we there yet?
We may not be. I'll
don't
keep
think
reading.
so.
You tell me when to stop,
Yeah, I
okay?
think we need to get to the part where they're going back to Mitzrayim.
Okay. So they loaded their donkeys with the grain. I'm in 26 of 42. And as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey fodder at the lodging place, he saw his silver, for there it was in the mouth of his sack. And he said to his brothers, my silver has been returned. And there it is in my sack, and their hearts sank, and they were afraid, saying to each other, what is this that Elohim has done to us? So they came to Yaakov, their father, in the land of Canaan, and reported to him all that befell them, saying, the man, the master of the land, spoke to us harshly, and took us for spies of the land. But we said to him, we are trustworthy, we are not spies. But they talked too much, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is no more, and the youngest today is with our father in the land of Canaan. And the man, the master of the land, said to us, by this I know that you are trustworthy. Leave one of your brothers here with me. Take food for the scarcity of food for your household, and go. And that was part of his love for Yaakov. Yoseph wanted to make sure there's food to feed this family before he does anything, before he takes any action against them. And bring your youngest brother to me, then I know that you are not spies, but that you are trustworthy. And I give you your brother to you, and you move about in the land. And it came to be, as they emptied their sacks, that look, the bundle of each man's silver was in his sack. And when they and their father saw the bundles of silver, they were afraid. And Yaakov Yaakov, their father, said to them, you have bereaved me. Joseph is no more. Shimon is no more. He's already written him off. And you would take Benjamin. All of this is against me. Okay.
This is where I should pick up. Go ahead and finish that, and then I'll pick up.
Yeah. Okay, so Reuben spoke to his father, saying, I want you to listen to what Reuben says. He said, take the lives of my 2 sons if I do not bring him back to you. Reuben, you want to give your 2 sons? He didn't offer himself. He offered his sons. Take my boys. Take my 2 sons. If I don't come back, kill them. Oi, put him.
Hey, kill your grandkids.
It's not quite selfless.
No, he wasn't. He worked. So he was probably, for what I understand, France. Is that right, Kaylin? Most of the tribe of Reuben went to France. They'd rather love than fight.
Canada.
Every time. Canada. They flew to Canada. Okay, put him in my hands, and I myself will bring him back to you. But he said, my son is not going with you. I mean, you're offering me your 2 sons to kill if you don't come back with my son Shimon and bring Benjamin back? No. He said, for his brother is dead and he is left alone. If any harm should come to him along the way in which you go, then you would bring down my gray hair with sorrow.
To show.
Thank you. With sorrow to Sheol. No, I'm kidding. Thank you.
And I'm actually going to back up in Yasher here to 11.
Okay, good.
So I'm in Yasher 52:11. Give you all a second to get there. And Yehudah answered and said unto his father, if you will send our brother with us, we will go down and buy grain for you. And if you will not send him, then we will not go down. For surely the king of Mitzrayim particularly enjoined us, saying, you shall not see my face unless your brother be with you. For the king of Mitzrayim is a strong and mighty king. And behold, if we shall go to him without our brother, we shall all be put to death. Do you not know, and have you not heard, that this king is very powerful and wise, and there is not like unto him in all the earth? Behold, we have seen all the kings of the earth, and we have not seen one like that king, the king of Mitzrayim. Surely amongst all the kings of the earth there is none greater than Abimelech, king of the Pelishtim. Yet the king of Mitzrayim is greater and mightier than he, and Abimelech can only be compared to one of his officers. Father, you have not seen his palace and his throne, and all his servants standing before him. You have not seen that king upon his throne in his pomp and royal appearance, dressed in his kingly robes, with a large golden crown upon his head. You have not seen the honor and glory which Elohim has given unto him, for there is not like unto him in all the earth. Father, you have not seen the wisdom, the understanding, and the knowledge which Elohim has given in his heart, nor heard his sweet voice when he spoke unto us. We know not, Father, who made him acquainted with our names and all that befell us. Yet he also asked after you, saying, is your father still living, and it is well? Is it well with him? Oh. You have not seen the affairs of the government of Mitzrayim regulated by him. Without inquiring of Pharaoh his Adonai, you have not seen the awe and fear which he impressed upon all the Mitzrayim. And also when we went from him, We threatened to do unto Mitzrayim like unto the rest of the cities of the Amoreum, and we were exceedingly wroth against all his words which he spoke concerning us as spies. And now when we shall come again before him, his terror will fall upon us all, and not one of us will be able to speak with him either a little or a great thing. Now therefore, Father, send, we pray you, the lad with us, and we will go down and buy you food for our support, and not die through hunger. And Yaakov said, Why have you dealt so ill with me to tell the king you had a brother? What is this thing you have done unto me? And Yehudah said unto Yaakov his father, Give the lad unto my care, and we will rise up and go down to Mitzrayim and buy grain, and then return. And it shall be when we return, if the lad be not with us, then let me bear your blame forever. Am I going to keep going there? I think that's probably. I've already gone past
Go to 22.
26, 22. And Yaakov said unto his sons, I trust in Yahuah Elohim that he may deliver you and give you favor in the sight of the king of Mitzrayim and in the sight of all his men. Now therefore rise up and go to the man, and take for him in your hands a present from what can be obtained in the land, and bring it before him. And may El Shaddai Elohim give you mercy before him, that he may send Benjamin and Shimon your brethren with you. And all the men rose up, and they took their brother Benjamin, and they took in their hands a large present of the best of the land. They also took a double portion of silver. And Yaakov strictly commanded his sons concerning Benjamin, saying, Take heed of him in the way in which you are going, and do not separate yourselves from him in the road, neither in Mitzrayim. And Yaakov rose up from his sons and spread forth his hands, and he prayed unto Yahuah on account of his sons, saying, O Yahuah, Elohim of heaven and earth, remember your covenant with our father Abraham. Remember it with my father Yitzhak, and deal kindly with my sons, and deliver them not into the hands of the king of Mitzrayim. Do it, I pray you, O Elohim, for the sake of your mercies, and redeem all my children, and rescue them from Mitzri power, and send them their two brothers. And I think it's important to point out here that the last time he sent his brothers, or sent Joseph out with his brothers, didn't end well. And so he still thinks that Joseph was eaten by beasts. And so he's telling his sons here, don't you take your eyes off of Benjamin, because you bring me back a bloody coat.
Oh,
it's not going to be good.
I mean, he's already lost one son, and he had to identify that. How many?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so these guys are carrying that guilt forward as they
Yes.
go back to Mitzrayim, still wondering, where is Yoseph? Is he there? And now we've been made spies. We can't even look for him.
What's crazy is they were looking for him in all of the areas. They were looking for him in the areas of the harlots, because he thought he might be a harlot. And when they told Joseph that, I think I must not have put that down in here for you to read, but it was kind of funny because Joseph was like, "You were looking for me over there where the harlots are? Really? You are spies. You're going to die." So next in 28,
27.
in 27, but in 28. In 28, Yaakov actually wrote a letter to Joseph, to Pharaoh. Go ahead and read that letter, because it's really a pretty cool letter. I don't think I have that in here too. Yeah, 27 through 42. I'm sorry. You were right.
I wasn't sure. And all the women of the sons of Yaakov and their children lifted up their eyes to heaven, and they all wept before Yahuah, and cried unto him to deliver their fathers from the hand of the king of Mitzrayim. And Yaakov wrote a record to the king of Mitzrayim, and gave it into the hand of Yehudah, and into the hands of his sons for the king of Mitzrayim, saying, From your servant Yaakov, son of Yitzhak, son of Abraham the Ivri, the prince of Elohim, to the powerful and wise king, the revealer of secrets, king of Mitzrayim, greeting. Be it known to my Adonai, the king of Mitzrayim, the famine was sore upon us in the land of Canaan, and I sent my sons to you to buy us a little food from you for our support. For my sons surrounded me, and I, being very old, cannot see with my eyes. For my eyes have become very heavy through age, as well as with daily weeping for my son, for Yoseph, who was lost from before me. And I commanded my sons that they should not enter the gates of the city when they came to Mitzrayim, on account of the inhabitants of the land. And I also commanded them to go about Mitzrayim to seek for my son Yoseph. Perhaps they might find him there. And they did so, and you did consider them as spies of the land. Have we not heard concerning you that you did interpret Pharaoh's dream, and did speak truly unto him? How then do you not know in your wisdom whether my sons are spies or not? Now therefore, my Adonai and King, behold, I have sent my son before you, as you did speak unto my sons. I beseech you to put your eyes upon him until he is returned to me in peace with his brethren. For you do not know, or have you not heard, that which our Elohim did unto Pharaoh when he took my mother Sarah, and what he did unto Abimelech, king of the Pelishtim, on account of her, and also what our father Abraham did unto the 9 kings of Elam, how he smote them all with a few men that were with him. And also what my 2 sons Shimon and Levi did unto the 8 cities of the Emorium, how they destroyed them on account of their sister Dinah. And also on account of their brother Benjamin, they consoled themselves for the loss of his brother Yoseph. What will they then do for him when they see the hand of any people prevailing over them for his sake? Do you not know, O king of Mitzrayim, that the power of Elohim is with us, and that also Elohim ever hears our prayers and forsakes us not all the days? And when my sons told me of your dealings with them, I called not unto Yahuah on account of you, for then you would have perished with your men before my son Benjamin came before you. But I thought that as Shimon my son was in your house, perhaps you might deal kindly with him. Therefore I did not this thing unto you.
Isn't that amazing? He's like, I could have called down Yah.
Yeah,
I could have wiped out your
we
kingdom.
could have gotten real here.
He's explaining to him, I'm way more powerful than you think, than you even realize I am. I could have done all these things, but my son Shimon is there. Hopefully you're going to deal right with him. But he's letting him know, look, if you don't release Shimon, and if you don't send back Benjamin, it's not going to go well with you, because I will call down Yah.
I think additionally too, this is clarification for Yoseph that these are for certain my brothers. This is my father who is still living. No one would speak with this authority, and Yoseph would know his father and recall that his father spoke with the authority of Yah.
That's true. And over here he says that his eyes are weak from weeping for Yosef every day. Still,
Even so.
this is like almost 20 years later. He's still weeping for his father.
Yeah, and Yosef has to wonder at this
Probably-
point, should I not have told him to
probably-
bring my dad? Because at this point, am I even going to get to see him?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So he's maybe playing the long game here a little too much. Did I stop in 38?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
No, you stopped at 39. I think.
39, okay. And when my sons told me of your dealings with them, I called not unto Yahuah on account of you, for then you would have perished with your men before my son Benjamin came before you. But I thought that as Shimon my son was in your house, perhaps you might deal kindly with him. Therefore I did not this thing unto you. Now therefore, behold, Benjamin my son comes unto you with my sons. Take heed of him and put your eyes upon him, and then will Elohim place his eyes over you and throughout your kingdom. He's giving a blessing, sort of.
Yeah.
Now I have told you all that is in my heart, and behold, my sons are coming to you with their brother. Examine the face of the whole earth for their sake, and send them back in peace with their brethren, and an appeal. And Yaakov gave the record to his sons into the care of Yehudah to give it unto the king of Mitzrayim. It's an astonishing letter. I hadn't read that. I love
It is
that.
a powerful letter, but it's a letter with a if.
Back to 32.
If you send them back.
Yeah.
Go back to 32.
Yeah, it's even more interesting. And I also commanded them to go about Mitzrayim to seek for my son Yosef. Perhaps they might find him there. And they did so. I don't know if that's referring to searching or whether he recognized.
Searching.
They,
Yeah.
they did in the searching.
Yeah.
And did he really tell them to do that? He didn't. But he's covering for them.
hmm
He's like, I told him to, split up and go through the different gates.
Yeah, and I don't
That's
see
a good
anywhere
point.
else yet, and it may be here, but I don't see anywhere else that his sons have confessed to him what they did.
No.
So I think he's still in the dark.
No, and that's going to have to take place. Boy,
Who got the letter, Pharaoh or did Joseph?
Joseph
will
get the letter.
Yeah.
Everything that's being dealt with,
Reading this letter knowing it's probably from his
he
dad.
hasn't read it yet, but when he reads it,
He
it's
will
going
when he
to
sees it, yeah.
it's going to like crush him because he sees the heart of his dad and
What
the
is he-
authority.
Was he 17 when he was sold into captivity?
He was 17.
So he would recognize his father's hand.
Yeah.
I know what my father's writing looks like.
Yeah.
And if I saw it, I would know it. So he may even recognize his own father's hand.
He was 30 when he got out of prison. We've had at least 14 years, and there were 4 years before his kids were born because they were born at 34.
This is a
And
guy that
then-
clearly talks to Yahuah as well. So who
Oh,
knows
yes.
what isn't here that was going on between Yosef and
I know.
Yahuah and the Ruach.
To me, this is just a beautiful picture of everything that was going on behind the scenes It's just a fascinating story. Okay, you ready to go back into Genesis? See, I'm reading the old boring stuff, and he gets to read all the fun stuff, and don't
I
do
do.
that. Wesley, don't you do that again.
We're getting close to needing to eat.
Genesis 43:1. But the scarcity of food was severe in the land, and it came to be when they had eaten up the last grain that they had brought from Mitzrayim, that their father said to them, "Go back and buy some food." Ha ha! Wait a minute. Go back and buy some food. He's not saying go back and get Shimon. I'm hungry.
No,
Let's
I'm
take care of my
hungry.
stomach
Yeah.
first.
Wait.
Huh?
Food.
Food. Yeah.
We're getting there.
But Yahudah spoke to him, saying, "The man vehemently warned us, saying, you do not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you let our brother go with us, we go down and we buy you food. But if you do not let him go, we do not go down, because the man said to us, you do not see my face unless your brother is with you." And Yasher said, "Why did you do evil to me to inform the men that you still have another brother?" And they said, "The man kept asking about us and our relatives, saying, 'Is your father still alive? Have you another brother?' And we informed him according to these words. How could we know that he would say, 'Bring your brother down'?" And Yahudah said to Yasher, his father, "Send the boy with me, and let us arise and go and live and not die, both we and you, and also our little ones. I myself shall stand guarantee for him. From my hand you are to require him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame for this forever." Let's see. Okay, we've already got, okay. "For if we had not delayed, truly by now we could have returned this second time." And their father Yasher said to them, "If so, then do this. Take some of the best fruit of the land in your vessels, and bring a present down for the man. A little balm and a little honey, spices and myrrh, nuts and almonds." This is a little bit of what he grew up with. Don't you know it's going to bring some memories back? "And take double silver in your hand, and take back in your hand the silver that was returned in the mouth of your sacks." It could have been a mistake.
I would say there, in reference to 11, Yahuah sets everything up for a purpose.
Yes.
Dr. Pigeon has been covering some things recently where he talks about the senses, and he talks about that Yahuah created us with sense of smell and taste and sound and hearing and other things. And it's amazing how if you walk into a room and you smell something, it instantly takes you through an entire mind palace of memories that are associated with that smell.
That whole period of your life comes flooding back in.
And so these small little tokens that are being put together, this is Yahuah saying, "I know how to wake up the psychology of Yoseph
That's right.
exactly like I need
Isn't
to."
that beautiful?
Absolutely. I think that's amazing.
Because it's definitely going to play on his memories.
Absolutely.
I remember the
Nothing will
almonds and the
you
honey.
can smell things that take you back 50 years to your childhood.
Guys, listen, I was born in a different state, and I had never actually driven to that place. I was 2 when we left. And when we arrived, we went straight back to the house because I followed the smell. It was across the street from a tobacco plantation.
Yeah.
But
what I mean.
I had smelled that smell all my life. I would get a hint of it every now and then. I told my husband, I said, "I think I know where I'm going." I drove straight back there, but it was a smell.
Yeah.
I was following the smell.
Yeah. Yahuah created us with these things for a reason, and they matter.
Well, and think about in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Yahuah, he didn't place them on the north side of the garden or on the north side of the land, because the smell of the trees
Would drift.
and would
Memories would be
remind
too hard.
them. Yes, and they would be constantly going, "I want to go back there. I want to go back," because everything in the garden smelled so just
Pleasing.
pungent. It was a very heavy smell and odor. Okay, and I'm back in
12, I believe.
13.
Yeah, 13.
And so he's already saying, double up the silver. We're going to pay double what he's selling it for, and we're going to put the silver back in the sack. "Take your brother, arise, and go to the man, and El Shaddai give you compassion before the man, so that he shall release your other brother and Benjamin. And if I'm bereaved, I'm bereaved." He's like, if it's going to be, so be it.
He's accepting Yah's will.
Yes. let's see here. Well, I don't have the other one yet. Okay, and the men
Right there,
took
yeah.
that present and Benjamin, and they took double the amount of silver in their hand. And they arose and they went down to Mitzrayim, and they stood before Yoseph. And Joseph saw Benjamin with them. And Benjamin was a little one when he left. Joseph saw Benjamin with him, and he said to the one over his house, he said, "Bring the men home, make a great slaughter, and prepare, for these men are to eat with me at noon." And the men did as Joseph said, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house, and they said, "It is because of the silver which was put back in our sacks the first time that we are brought back in, and to throw himself upon us, and he's going to fall upon us. He's going to take us to be slaves, and he's even going to take our donkeys." I mean, they're worried about their donkeys at this
Gonna
point.
take it all.
Yeah, they better be worried about those donkeys. He said, so they came near to the man over the house of Joseph and spoke to him at the door of the house and said, "Oh, my master, we indeed came down the first time to buy food, but it came to be when when we came to the lodging place that we opened our sacks and saw each man's silver in the mouth of his sack, our silver in its weight, and we have brought it back in our hand. And we have brought down other silver in our hands to buy more food. We do not know who put the silver in our sacks." But he said, "Peace be with you. Do not be afraid. Your Elohim and the Elohim of your father has given you treasure in your sacks. Your silver had come to me." And he brought Shimon out to them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house and gave them water. They washed their feet, and he gave them donkeys. He gave their donkeys fodder. I mean, he's really taking care of them. I mean, washing the feet was a very nice gesture. It might be something that they required before letting them in the house too. Your feet are really dirty. Here, wipe your feet.
Yeah.
And they made the present ready for Joseph's coming at noon, for they heard that they were to eat there. And when Yosef came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and they bowed down before him to the earth. And he asked them about their welfare. And he said, "Is your father well? The old man of whom you spoke, is he still alive?" And they said, "Your servant, our father, is in good health. He is still alive." And they bowed their heads down and did obeisance. And he lifted his eyes, and he saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son. And he said, "Is this your younger brother of whom you spoke to me?" And he said, Elohim shall favor to you, my son." And Joseph hurried, for his emotions were deeply moved towards his brothers. And he looked for a place to weep, and he went into his room, and he wept there. And then he washed his face, and he came, and he controlled himself, and he said, "Serve the food." And they set him a place by himself, and them by themselves, and the Mitzrites who ate with him by themselves. He could not eat with any of them. He was separated from the Mitzrites because he was a Hebrew, and they were separated from him because they didn't know that he was a Hebrew, right? And he's not about to tell them yet. For the Mitzrites could not eat food with the Hebrews, and that is an abomination to the Mitzrites. And they set before him the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked at each other in astonishment. That should have told them something right there, shouldn't it? He set them in birth order in front of him. And he took portions to them from before him, so he's serving them. Joseph's literally serving their food. Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any
Sure,
of
Shimon
theirs.
appreciated that.
I'm sure he did. And they feasted and they drank with him. So he is feeding his little brother, probably the smallest of the whole lot, 5 times as much food. Don't you know they're all looking at him like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And now it's your turn.
It's my turn. So in Yasher 53:18. 53:18. And he ordered them to bring before him his map of the stars, whereby Yosef knew all the times. And Yosef said unto Benjamin, I have heard that the Ephraim are acquainted with all wisdom. Do you know anything of this? And Benjamin said, Your servant is knowing also in all the wisdom which my father taught me. And Yosef said unto Benjamin, Look now at this instrument, and understand where your brother Yosef is in Mitzrayim, who you said went down to Mitzrayim. And Benjamin beheld that instrument with the map of the stars of heaven, and he was wise, and looked therein to know where his brother was. And Benjamin divided the whole land of Mitzrayim into 4 divisions. And he found that he who was sitting upon the throne before him was his brother Yosef, And Benjamin wondered greatly. And when Yoseph saw that his brother Benjamin was so much astonished, he said unto Benjamin, What have you seen, and why are you astonished? And Benjamin said unto Yoseph, I can see by this that Yoseph my brother sits here with me upon the throne. And Yoseph said unto him, I am Yoseph your brother. Reveal not this thing unto your brethren. Behold, I will send you with them when they go away. And I will command them to be brought back again into the city, and I will take you away from them. And if they dare their lives and fight for you, then shall I know that they have repented of what they did unto me, and I will make myself known to them. And if they forsake you when I take you, then shall you remain with me, and I will wrangle with them, and they shall go away, and I will not become known to them.
Is that not amazing? I mean, he has planned this whole thing out. But I want you to look back at verse 15. Joseph brought them out wine to drink, and they would not drink. And they said, even the day on which Joseph was lost, we have not drunk wine nor eaten any delicacies. And Joseph swore unto them, and he pressed them hard, and they drank plentifully with him on that day. And Joseph afterward turned to his brother. So he's gotten all the brothers drunk, except for Benjamin. So they have no idea what's going on up
they're
there.
unaware.
It's like behind the curtain. He's up there talking to Benjamin, and Benjamin knows who he is.
He's going to the innocent one
Yes.
who has no guilt, no blood guilt, as the brothers think they might have. And he's literally favoring him, even though he was the favored son. He's now treating Benjamin with the entitlement in which he had somewhat suggested he deserved.
And this is his baby brother. I mean, it's
Yeah.
his full blood brother. But he's preparing him for what he's about to do.
Yeah,
He's like,
absolutely.
you're going to leave. Y'all going to leave here. Everything's going to feel right. And I'm sending men after y'all. And when they do, they're going to arrest you all. In your bag, they're going to find the silver cup. And it's going to look bad for you. But I'm telling you up front, as your brother,
Yeah, so you don't get fear.
I'm
You don't
yeah.
panic.
he was making sure that Benjamin was going to know exactly what's taking place, and he was not going to panic. Because had he panicked, oh, you got Shimon and Levi would have ripped the town
They've
apart.
gone nuts. And when we get to the point here, I'm going to point out a pattern that's here that I want to talk about.
Okay, cool. Okay, and we're in 44, verse 1. Did I skip anything?
Mm-mm.
Okay. And he commanded the one over his house, saying, fill the men's sacks with food, as they are able to bear, and put each man silver in the mouth of his sack, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest, and the silver for his grain. And he did according to the word of Yoseph, which he spoke. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their donkeys. Their donkeys are everywhere with them, aren't they? And when they had gone out of the city, not having gone far, Joseph said to one of it over his house, he said, rise up, follow the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, why have you repaid evil for good? And this is not the one from which my master drinks. Is this not the one from which my master drinks, and with which he indeed divines? You have done evil in what you have done. And so he overtook them and spoke these words to them. And they said to him, why does my master say these words? Far be it from us that your servants should do according to this word. See, we brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver which we found in the mouth of our sacks. How then shall we steal silver or gold from your master's house? With whom, I want you to listen to this, with whomever of your servants it is found, he shall die, and we shall become my master's slaves. They just made an oath, just like their father did with Rahel. But look what Yoseph does in 10. He said, and Yoseph said, now also let it be according to your words. He with whom it is found becomes my slave, and you are found innocent. So he who they made the oath to, just broke that blood curse. He broke that curse off of Benjamin, and because he knew what happened. He knew what happened to his mom. Okay, and they hurried, and each man let down his sack to the ground, and each opened his sack, and he searched with the oldest first and with the youngest last, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. And they tore their garments, and each man loaded his donkey and went back to the city. And Yehudah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, and he was still there, and they fell before him on the ground. They are really wallowing in begging at this point. And Yoseph said to them, "What deed is this you have done? Did you not know that a man like me indeed divines?" And Yehudah said, What do we say to my master? Why do we speak? What do we speak? Or how do we clear ourselves? Elohim has found out the crookedness of your servants. See, we are my master's slaves, both we and he also, with whom the cup was found. But he said, "Far be it from me to do this. The man in whose hand the cup was found, he becomes my slave, and you go up in peace to your father." Guess what? That's the end of the Torah portion. And so we find out what happens next in the next Torah portion. What pattern are you seeing in there? Because this is going to be interesting.
So I'm noticing a pattern, and I haven't fully researched this, but I want to look at it because it seems like Yahuah is giving us an example here. So his set-apart people are a stiff-necked, peculiar people. So we get kind of rage-heavy, we react real quick, we do things without thinking. And there is an example here in many places, and I'll use Yaakov when he's fleeing Laban. He spoke a curse that could have resulted in her death, and his wife's death, by saying, whoever has your idols, they can die.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Yehudah, who he says, burn
Same thing.
burn my daughter-in-law. And,
yeah.
And so he doesn't realize he's condemning himself. And then you have Yehudah again, kill whoever's got the cup. There's this pattern of speaking words that could have potentially changed the course of all these events had
Sure.
Yahuah allowed them to.
Yes.
And I think it's important that we understand that pattern because it's a secondary warning of be careful what you allow yourself to speak. Be careful what you say. And that's actually going to come into some of what we talk about later in the preparedness thing in terms of rash actions and thinking before you act. It's critically important.
What we speak is important. And speaking, what is in the power? What's the power of the tongue?
Yeah, life and death.
Life and death. It can bring life, which is what we should be speaking over our family, over our children. We should be speaking it over our nation, over our president. What? I want to stop for just a
The
second
fellow that
because
runs the state.
so guys, Seth, what did I have to do years ago?
You have to stop cursing the president.
I wasn't cursing him.
I'm not cursing him, but
Well, with your mouth, pretty
But-
much.
we are.
But
Negative speaking.
I would
We're very
go,
upset with what was going on.
I would go on raves,
Yeah,
okay?
rants.
And raves.
Been there.
And so on live streaming, I had to stop. I had to repent. We had to pray. And guys, this is what this, listen, if we don't leave here convicted that we're doing something wrong, we're not studying it hard enough, okay? We should leave here knowing, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're up here reading. I don't care who you are. If you're not convicted of something, especially this one, what have
Yeah.
you done today? No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
You're freaking me out.
That one right there.
She's like, I haven't done anything. But guys, we're changing. We're growing. With each Shabbat that we meet, each week as you're going through the study, you're changing. So words have got great meanings.
Significant.
That's right. And of course, Yehudah, when he said burn her, he was going back to the law.
Absolutely.
The law was in Leviticus, if you have a high priest and his daughter has committed harlotry, she burns.
Mhm.
What he didn't know is her harlotry was committed with him. And he's like, oh, that's my ring, that's my staff.
Uh-oh.
That's like, so that's a good point. But I think we're all guilty of this.
Absolutely.
We get mad, we open our mouth, we say things we should not
Absolutely.
say.
Rash action leads to dangerous outcomes.
I think in Hebrew it's called La Shaharan,
La Chevron.
right? And so it's like evil speaking, cursing others.
It's grumbling. La Sharon is actually grumbling. So that's
Grumbling against our
grumbling against our
sovereigns.
president. It could be grumbling against each other. And the grumbling brings Abimelech. It brings the spirit of
leprosy.
Abimelech and leprosy.
He's getting cursed enough. It'd be amazing if we start blessing him and build him up. I mean, I'm just being honest. I mean, we all have our opinions about
Well,
who runs this country.
Okay, so we read some verses that explain totally what happens if we are talking. Who puts the president in his?
Yahuah.
Who puts the governor?
Romans 13.
Yahuah.
Who put everyone who is
God's our
over
leaders.
you? Yah has allowed them to be in that position, and I'm going to tell you what is really bad. He gives you what you deserve. Listen to that. He
You look at a
gives
sinful nation and then wonder why you
Things
have
are
the
the way they
officials
are.
do that.
Yeah.
For people off.
He's gonna feed you
he
everything.
gives you what you deserve.
Yeah, weak men
We should-
creating hard times because that's what we learn.
That's it. That is it. I want us to read through Luke real quick.
Can I mention one thing about what we read in 44?
Absolutely.
So it says, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest, and the silver for his grain. But the cup in Psalm 16:5-8, I should say, and the cup, is Yahuah is the portion of my inheritance and my cup. He is the cup.
Oh wow, that is a nice connection. I like that.
That's just one little side note here. And I've always wondered why, like you were saying, the donkeys, and why they're mentioned more so than horses or anything. But donkeys are better adapted to climate. They can withstand heat better. They can go longer without water than
Carrying
horses.
Mm-hmm.
More resistant to diseases, and they live longer.
Well, And listen, if you've been to the desert land there,
It's also about 1,000 years
Okay.
before horses were domesticated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
there weren't that many horses there. They actually came in. Yeah, you're right. It was about 1,000 years because you don't see them actually until Roman time, right?
A little earlier.
A little bit earlier than that. But the donkeys were very well adapted, and they could go over all the rocks and it is harsh terrain in the southern part of Israel. So camels and donkeys were probably more sure-footed than anything else. Okay, we're going to read in Luke 24:13-32, and I'm going to say the Haftorah portion is Isaiah 66, 1-24. Everyone needs to read that, do it on your own, because we're not going to take time for that today, because everybody will leave me here by myself and go
24?
eat.
Yep.
24, Luke 24, and we're going to start in 13
Okay.
and see. Is everybody there? Page 10, 18.
19. Or page 10, 18.
There you go. And see, two of them were going that same day to a village called Amas, which was 60 stadia from Jerusalem. It was about a 7.5 mile walk. And they were talking to each other They were talking to each other of all this which had taken place. And it came to be as they were talking and reasoning that Yahushua himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were restrained so that they did not see him. You know, it's just like Yehuda, it's just like Yoseph, and Yehuda seeing him, all of them saw him. They didn't know him.
They recognize
They
him.
didn't recognize him. Well, he's in a different position, and you know, as an Egyptian
He
king,
had all his pagan garb on.
yeah, I was going to say he's got all that pagan. He probably had the makeup on, and he was probably very clean shaven because they didn't really have. Yeah, he was probably very different looking.
Well, and there's an inversion
Oh.
here as well. Yahusha came as a king who would be established later. And Yoseph has come as a nobody who is established as king. It's a story almost crossing each other.
Well, but Yahusha is not the king until he returns
When
the
he
second
returned,
time.
right, that's my
yeah.
point.
So
Yeah.
they were both the suffering servant.
Yeah.
When they first came, they were the suffering servant.
Yeah, and Yosef
then
is established
Mhm.
because we need that story. We
Yes.
need to see it. And then Yahusha is going to be received like
Right.
Joseph at a future date.
It's neat to me because when they both return to their tribe,
Mhm.
when Yosef comes back to Yaakov, he's going to be what? King. When Yahusha comes back to us,
He will be king.
he will be king, and
Exactly.
he's going to rule with an iron rod. So
Yeah.
they both returned. They were both the suffering servants. I mean, Yahusha, it describes him as he was a nobody.
The parallels
That's
to the
what
two
it says.
stories are
Yes.
beautiful. And
It's amazing.
in my opinion, the back of the book says the same thing as the front of the book, and the front of the book says the same thing
Yes.
as the back of the book. You just have to have eyes to see it.
That's it. Open your eyes, guys. Okay,
17.
so in 16 it says, but their eyes were restrained so that they did not know him. And he said to them, what are these words you're exchanging with each other as you are walking? Are you sad? And the one whose name was Cleophas answering said to him, Are you the lone visitor in Jerusalem who does not know what has taken place in these days? They're going, what? You don't even know what's going on here? And he said to them, what? And they said to him, concerning Yahushua of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before Elohim and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death, and they impaled him. We, however, were expecting that it was he who was going to redeem Yasher. But besides all this, today is the third day since these matters took place. But certain women of ours who arrived at the tomb early also astonished us. When they did not find his body, they came saying that he had also been seen. They had also seen a vision of messengers who said he was alive. And some of those with us went to the tomb, and they found it, as also the women had said, but they did not see him. And he said to them, O thoughtless ones and slow of heart to believe in all that the prophets have spoken, was it not necessary for the Messiah to suffer these and to enter into his esteem? And beginning at Moshe and all the prophets, he was explaining to them in all the scriptures the matters concerning himself. They still haven't seen him.
There it is, the front of the book.
It's the front of the book. And they approached the village where they were going, and he seemed to be going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, Stay with us, for it is towards evening, and the day has declined. And he went in to stay with them. And it came to be when he sat at the table with them, having taken the bread, he blessed, and having broken, he was giving it to them, and their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. And they said to each other, Was not our heart burning within us as he was speaking to us on the way, and as he was opening the scriptures to us? So this is the same as Joseph. Don't you know that those brothers were feeling something? They had to be feeling something when they were standing there talking to Yoseph, because these guys were capable of tearing this city apart. And you're going to see that in the rest of the story of Yosef and the brothers. But so guys, we need to be careful who we're depending on. We need to depend on Yah first and foremost for everything. And we don't just sit back and think that everything's going to be prepared for us. We have got to prepare as Yah commanded Yosef to prepare for Egypt. And we're going to get into a lot of that this afternoon.
We sure are.
I'm really excited. So guys, you won't be seeing us this evening. It seems that our afternoon live stream has been completely hijacked. So we're not going to be doing an afternoon stream until I get rid of my current provider and get a new provider, because we don't have enough bandwidth for the afternoon. In fact, we don't have enough bandwidth for business. So, oy vey, that's all I can say. So we're going to say a prayer because y'all look so hungry. Hey, let's go ahead and go through Isaiah.
We might have a revolt.
Yeah, they just stood up and started walking towards the
I
stars.
think we went almost an hour past lunch.
Oh, we did go 2 hours. You want to pray us out?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Abba Yahuah, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the peace of your Shabbat. We thank you for the shalom here in our assembly. We thank you that we are able to come together still and worship you and speak of your word and learn from your word and speak to each other and teach each other the things that your Ruach would have us know and see. Abba, we thank you for all of the opportunities that we have, both to fellowship with each other and to fellowship with others. We thank you for technology that allows us to reach out and maybe answer questions for those that are seeking you and looking for your face. Father, we thank you for the simple things in life, for the clothes on our back. We thank you for the lights in this room and just the various little small things that we take for granted and we don't think about. Those wonderful marvels of technology that we see and we touch and we use every day, and we never even consider them until they're gone. But we have you to thank for those things, and we thank you for that. We thank you for the food that we're about to eat. We ask you to bless it, bless the hands that prepared it, help it to nourish our bodies. And we ask you to just be with each and every one of us today. Let your Ruach speak to each and every one of us, both independently and collectively. And we pray for a hedge of protection around each and every one here.
Yes, Father.
We ask, Father, that in this time of advanced spiritual warfare and attacks from the enemy, that you give us fearlessness and courage and boldness to go forth and to not be concerned about the actions of the enemy and the distractions that he puts before us, Father. But send your warring angels out in front of each and every one of us this week and as we go through our day. And just give us an opportunity to feel the peace of your Ruach, feel the strength of you blessing each and every one of us. We ask you just to put a hedge of protection with your angels around all of us and protect us from the attacks of the enemy. If he is to be rebuked, it's on your behalf, Father, that you do that, and we do not stink to do that sort of thing. We ask you to rebuke and keep the enemy away from us, if it be your will. Father, we bless you, we praise you, we exalt your name, and again, we thank you for this opportunity to fellowship with each other and worship you. We say these things in the precious name of your Son, Yahushua HaMashiach. Amen.
Amen. Good prayer. So, guys, and we have to remember what? Every time that Hasatan attacks, it's going to build you stronger.
Absolutely.
This food smells so good,
It does.
doesn't it?
I think we should end
I
this
think
live
we
stream
should.
and go eat.
Shabbat.
Shalom.
Until next Shabbat, we will see you then.
Yep.
So enjoy your Sabbath.
Everyone's all
Take
family
care.
Shabbat Shalom.